From 1994 to 2004, Friends wasn't just a show, it was a part of growing up. The laughs, the hugs, the friendships, they left a mark we'll never forget. But behind the scenes, Matthew Perry, the man who played Chandler Bing, was fighting a brutal addiction, sometimes taking up to 55 pills a day just to get through, and he wasn't alone. Many actors from the Friends universe carried quiet battles of their own, some ending in quiet tragedy. Though they're gone, their journeys and strength still resonate with millions. Today we remember 10 familiar faces, and if Friends was ever a part of your youth, leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Matthew Perry played Chandler Bing, the quick-witted, sarcastic best friend we all grew to love on Friends. Born Matthew Langford Perry on August 19, 1969 in Williamstown, Massachusetts, he landed the role of a lifetime at just 25 years old when Friends premiered in 1994. Chandler didn't take long to become one of the most iconic characters in sitcom history. But while millions laughed at his perfectly timed punchlines, Perry's personal life was slipping into darkness. As the show skyrocketed, with Perry eventually earning $1 million per episode, he was quietly losing a private battle with addiction and isolation. Beyond Friends, his resume included memorable roles in films like Fools Rush In, The Whole Nine Yards, and 17 Again, along with TV hits like The West Wing, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and The Odd Couple. But beneath the surface, things were unraveling. After a jet ski accident in 1997, he became hooked on painkillers. At one point, he was taking up to 55 Vicodin tablets daily. His weight dropped drastically, down to just 128 pounds. Perry later admitted that entire years of filming Friends were a blur to him. Though his castmates and crew tried to reach out and support him, the addiction kept pulling him deeper. During his most turbulent years, he entered rehab 15 times, had 14 stomach surgeries, attended over 6,000 recovery meetings, and spent an estimated $9 million trying to save his life. He later shared that he often thought about ending it all, but something inside kept pushing him to hold on. His relationships were no steadier. He dated Yasmin Bleeth, Julia Roberts, Lizzie Kaplan, and was once engaged to Molly Hurwitz, but none lasted. In 2022, he released a deeply personal memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. In it, Perry didn't hold back. He wrote openly about his mental health, addiction, and near-death experiences, not for sympathy, but to give hope to others walking through the same darkness. In his final years, he poured his energy into recovery, not just for himself, but for others. He transformed his old mansion into the Perry House, a sober living home, and received recognition from the White House for his advocacy work. He spoke about his faith, saying his relationship with God had become the most meaningful one in his life. Perry believed people could change. He wanted to help, to heal, and to leave something good behind, despite all that haunted him. On October 28, 2023, Matthew Perry passed away at the age of 54. He was found unresponsive in the hot tub at his Los Angeles home. The official cause was ruled as the acute effects of ketamine, with contributing factors including buprenorphine, heart disease, and drowning. His sudden death stunned fans in the entertainment world alike. The loss of Matthew Perry wasn't just the loss of a talented actor, it was the end of a deeply human story of pain, perseverance, and quiet hope. And for so many, Chandler Bing will forever be the heartbeat of Friends. James Michael Tyler played Gunther, the bleach blonde barista at Central Perk who quietly adored Rachel Green from afar. He stepped into the role in Friends in 1994 at the age of 32. Across the show's 10-year run, Gunther became a familiar, beloved face at the coffee shop and forever linked with Tyler's image. Tyler was born on May 28, 1962, in the state of Mississippi. In real life, though, he often felt overlooked and under-recognized in the entertainment industry. Before getting into acting, he worked behind the scenes as a film editing assistant and production crew member. In fact, his real-world experience as a barista helped him land the role on Friends. With nearly 150 appearances, he ended up being the series' most frequent guest star. Despite that dedication, Tyler's name rarely got top billing. Throughout his career, he struggled to escape the shadow of Gunther. Most of his roles after Friends were either small parts or appearances as himself during cast reunions. Friends and colleagues described him as introspective, soft-spoken, and someone who quietly longed to be seen as more than just a background character. His personal life had its own chapters of both joy and sorrow. In 1995, Tyler married Barbara Chadsey, but the couple later divorced after nearly a decade together. Years later, in 2017, he found love again with Jennifer Carnow. Tragically, just 1 year into their relationship, Tyler was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. He chose to keep his illness private for 3 years, continuing to work and even appearing virtually at the 2021 Friends reunion. His fragile appearance during the special left a deep impression on fans. Privately, he endured a long, painful fight as the cancer advanced. On October 24, 2021, James Michael Tyler passed away at his home in Los Angeles. He was 59 years old. The cause of death was complications from prostate cancer that had spread throughout his body. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at around $4 million, earned mostly from Friends and the smaller roles that followed. Though he may not have always been in the spotlight, James Michael Tyler left behind a legacy of warmth, dedication, and quiet charm that fans will never forget. Ron Leibman played Dr. Leonard Green. Born on October 11, 1937 in Manhattan, New York, Leibman was 59 when he took on the role of Rachel Green's fiery, no-nonsense father in Friends back in 1996. With a commanding voice and a piercing stare, he made Dr. Green one of the show's most unforgettable supporting characters, arrogant, blunt, and irresistibly funny. But Leibman's own life and career were just as complex and intense as the characters he brought to life. Though he had a presence in film, his heart was always in the theater. He found acclaim on Broadway for his portrayal of Roy Cohn in Angels in America, earning a reputation as a passionate and exacting performer. His movie roles included everything from Norma Ray to Zorro, the Gay Blade, but tensions with directors and producers, often stemming from his high artistic standards, sometimes slowed his film momentum. Leibman's personal life reflected the same intensity. His first marriage to actress Linda Lavin ended on bitter terms, leaving emotional wounds that lingered into his later relationship with actress Jessica Walter. Though they shared a deep bond, their marriage wasn't without private moments of friction. Every time Dr. Green showed up on Friends, he brought both tension and laughter, much like Leibman's own off-screen presence, which colleagues described as magnetic and unpredictable. In later years, he voiced characters on the animated show Archer, often working alongside Walter, though he slowly began to retreat from public life. Ron Leibman passed away on December 6, 2019, in his hometown of Manhattan at the age of 82. The cause was complications related to pneumonia. While his net worth was estimated at around $3 million, his true legacy lives on through the unforgettable impact he made on stage and screen alike. Mike Hagerty played Mr. Trigger. Born Michael Gerard Hagerty on May 10, 1954 in Chicago, Illinois, he was 41 when he stepped into the role of Mr. Trigger on Friends in 1995. As the grumpy but endearing superintendent with a signature mustache and unmistakable Chicago accent, Hagerty gave the character an earthy, heartfelt charm that added authenticity to the show's world. Off-screen, however, Hagerty faced a lifelong struggle against typecasting and industry prejudice tied to his appearance and voice. A gifted comedic performer who got his start with Chicago's legendary Second City Improv troupe, he spent much of his career in blue-collar roles, maintenance workers, managers, bus drivers, and the classic working man. He made appearances in popular shows such as Seinfeld, Cheers, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and The George Carlin Show, yet he never quite became a household name. Colleagues remembered how he quietly battled the frustration of seeing Hollywood lean toward younger, polished actors, while performers like him were often left to fill out the background. Nonetheless, Hagerty stayed committed to acting, bringing warmth, humor, and humanity to more than 100 roles throughout his career. He shared a steady private life with his wife, Mary Catherine, and continued to support causes back home in Illinois through charitable work and community involvement. Even in his final days, he remained active in the industry, filming the HBO series Somebody Somewhere, with plans to return for its second season. Sadly, fate had other plans. On May 5, 2022, just 5 days before his 68th birthday, Mike Hagerty passed away at the age of 67. His death occurred after he slipped into a coma caused by a seizure, which was triggered by an adverse reaction to antibiotics given for a leg infection. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated to be approximately $1.5 million. Audra Lindley played Frances. Born on September 24, 1918 in Los Angeles, California, she was 77 years old when she portrayed Phoebe Buffay's sweet and soft-spoken grandmother in a 1995 episode of Friends. Though her role was brief, just one episode, Lindley's gentle presence, warm smile, and kind-hearted energy made a lasting impression on fans. Behind her graceful demeanor was a career that spanned over 50 years, stretching from the bright lights of Broadway to the silver screen and television. But Lindley's life wasn't solely marked by fame and success. Her first marriage to Hardy Ulm ended in tragedy, leaving her a single mother to 5 children, juggling the pressures of motherhood with a thriving acting career. Her second marriage to fellow actor James Whitmore ended in a difficult and public divorce that led to both financial strain and emotional turmoil. In the entertainment world, rumors followed, stories of intense arguments, heavy drinking during the 1970s, and even a backstage confrontation that studios quietly covered up to preserve her public image. Even as she continued to appear radiant on screen, Lindley carried the quiet weight of solitude and private hardship, especially in her later years. On October 16, 1997, just 3 weeks after celebrating her 79th birthday, Audra Lindley passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The cause of death was complications from leukemia. Her journey, full of triumphs, heartbreaks, and resilience, came to an end, but she left behind a legacy as one of television's most beloved and recognizable figures. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated to be around $2 million, earned through decades of dedication to film and television. Ron Glass played Russell. Born Ronald Earl Glass on July 10, 1945 in Evansville, Indiana, he was 54 when he stepped into the role of Russell, the poised, confident divorce attorney, in a 1999 episode of Friends. With calm assurance and razor-sharp delivery, Glass left a lasting impression, even in limited screen time. Best known for his standout roles in Barney Miller and Firefly, Glass projected intelligence and depth on screen. Yet behind his success, his personal life was often described as complicated, with quiet speculation surrounding his relationships and personality. Beginning his career on stage, he quickly rose to prominence in the 1970s and 1980s, becoming a familiar face on American television. Privately, however, whispers followed, tales of emotional control and tension in close relationships that cast shadows over his otherwise respected career. As the years went on, his work began to slow, in part due to reports of him being difficult to collaborate with, known for a strict, uncompromising approach that some found challenging. Outside of acting, Glass moved away from his Catholic roots and found a new spiritual path in Buddhism, becoming a member of Soka Gakkai International. In his final years, he chose a quieter life, far removed from the noise of Hollywood, though his powerful performances continued to leave an impact. On November 25, 2016, Ron Glass passed away in California at the age of 71. The cause of death was respiratory failure. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at approximately $2.5 million, earned through decades of work on iconic shows like Barney Miller, Firefly, and other acclaimed projects. Max Wright played Terry. Born George Edward Max Wright on August 2, 1943 in Detroit, Michigan, he was 51 when he appeared in Friends in 1994 as Terry, the no-nonsense, occasionally irritable manager of Central Perk. Although his appearances were brief, Wright's stern expressions and dry humor made Terry a character fans would not forget. Beneath that calm, gruff exterior lay a life shaped by artistic ambition and profound personal struggle. Wright had previously found fame as Willie Tanner, the overwhelmed father in the hit sitcom ALF. While the role brought him visibility and success, Wright later confessed that the experience felt confining and creatively unfulfilling. He described feeling like a background player to a puppet, trapped in a role that left him emotionally drained. When ALF ended, Wright slowly stepped back from Hollywood, weary and disillusioned, hoping to find meaning beyond the screen. Just as he began to rebuild in 1995, he was diagnosed with lymphoma, a battle he faced with resilience and strength, ultimately achieving remission for a time. But inner peace proved elusive. In 2001, tabloids published troubling photos of Wright smoking crack cocaine inside an abandoned building. The shocking images stunned fans who had known him as the warm, if frazzled, TV dad and tarnished the wholesome persona he had long carried. The years that followed were quiet and difficult. Wright retreated from public view, leading a solitary life marked by remorse, shame, and the heavy burden of shattered expectations. Though he made attempts at comebacks, returning to theater stages both on Broadway and in smaller local productions, his past never fully loosened its grip. Each performance carried a trace of melancholy, a subtle echo of a career and life that had once held so much promise. Max Wright died on June 26, 2019 in New Jersey at the age of 75. The cause of death was complications from lymphoma, the same illness he had courageously battled decades earlier. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated to be around $1 million, mostly earned from ALF and various smaller roles throughout his career. Stan Kirsch played Ethan. Born as Stanley Benjamin Kirsch Jr. on July 15, 1968 in New York City, he was 27 when he took on the role of Ethan in a 1995 episode of Friends. Ethan, the sweet yet deceptive younger boyfriend, brought Monica more chaos than she expected. With bright, expressive eyes, a bashful grin, and lovable awkwardness, Kirsch made Ethan one of Monica's most unforgettable short-lived flings. But beneath the charm was a young performer silently carrying emotional burdens few ever saw. Kirsch rose to fame as Richie Ryan in Highlander, the series, a part that made him a familiar face to TV audiences throughout the 90s. Every week, viewers connected with his spirited, devoted character, one who added both humor and heart to the storyline. As the spotlight dimmed, however, Kirsch faced internal battles the cameras never caught. Those around him quietly spoke of his emotional struggles behind the scenes, mood swings that puzzled colleagues, and sudden decisions to walk away from projects without explanation. His personal life mirrored the turmoil of his career. Relationships that started with promise often ended in sadness. Whispers followed him, of emotional distance, of times when the warm, engaging actor seemed unreachable in his private world. The pressure of fame, the constant expectations, and the search for purpose in a tough industry gradually led him into deeper loneliness. Trying to redefine himself, Stan dove into new creative paths. He moved behind the scenes as a director and producer and eventually opened his own acting studio to guide and support young talent. Yet, even while mentoring others, he battled quietly with his own pain. Behind closed doors, Kirsch wrestled with emotional storms that few fully understood. On January 11, 2020, tragedy struck. Stan Kirsch was discovered dead in his Los Angeles home at the age of 51. His death was ruled a suicide by hanging, a devastating end to a life that once held so much promise. At the time, his net worth was estimated around $1 million, largely earned from roles on Highlander, Friends, and other projects that showcased his talent and warmth. Shelley Berman played Mr. Kaplan Jr., born Sheldon Leonard Berman on February 3, 1925, in Chicago. He was 71 years old when he guest starred in Friends. In 1996 as Mr. Kaplan Jr., a demanding, no-nonsense client who drove Joey and Chandler to their wits' end. Although his role was small, Berman's stern presence and smooth delivery made his character stand out. It was a reminder of the comedic icon who had once ruled the American stage for decades. Known for his signature telephone routines, Berman made history in 1959 as the first stand-up comedian to win a Grammy Award in the spoken word category. He was a trailblazer, credited with reshaping the art of stand-up and influencing generations of comics. Yet behind the polished persona was a man often undone by his own intensity and notorious temper. A single recorded incident in the 1960s, when Berman was caught yelling at backstage crew, left a lasting blemish on his career. He quickly gained a reputation for being overly sensitive and hard to work with. Stories circulated of him banning critics from performances and even allegedly confronting a fan for requesting an autograph at the wrong moment. Over time, such accounts eroded his public image. His marriage to Sarah Herman, which spanned more than 60 years after the two met as theater students, appeared solid from the outside, but was often whispered to be rooted more in habit than in deep affection. In his later years, Berman stepped away from the spotlight and lived more privately. He dedicated his time to teaching aspiring performers and supporting film and TV charities. Still, the controversies of his past never fully faded. Shelley Berman passed away on September 1st, 2017 in Bell Canyon, California, at the age of 92. The cause of death was complications related to Alzheimer's disease. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at about $1.5 million, the result of a long storied career in comedy and acting. Jennifer Aniston played Rachel Green on Friends, a character who began as a runaway bride and evolved into a strong, independent fashion executive. The role became a symbol of personal growth and reinvention, and one of the most iconic arcs in television history. Born on February 11, 1969, Aniston was 25 when Friends premiered in 1994 and 35 when it concluded in 2003-2004. Her performance as Rachel not only resonated with millions but also earned her an Emmy and a Golden Globe, cementing her as a household name in the entertainment world. After Friends, she continued to show her versatility in hit films like Marley and Me, The Breakup, and Horrible Bosses. In 2019, she returned to television with The Morning Show, a critically acclaimed drama that earned her high praise for her emotional depth and acting range. Now in 2025, at age 55, Jennifer Aniston remains one of Hollywood's most enduring and respected stars. And while her career is filled with major achievements, her role as Rachel Green still stands as the defining performance that launched her legacy. Lisa Kudrow played Phoebe Buffay. Born on July 30, 1963, she was 31 years old when Friends premiered in 1994. By the time the series wrapped up a decade later, she was nearing 41. As Phoebe, Kudrow brought a perfect blend of eccentricity and heartfelt sincerity to the screen. With her unpredictable one-liners, offbeat worldview, and quirky musical moments, none more iconic than Smelly Cat, Phoebe stood out as one of television's most memorably unconventional characters. Kudrow's portrayal earned her an Emmy Award and secured Phoebe Buffay's place as a fan favorite in the annals of TV history. But Kudrow didn't stop there. In the years after Friends, she continued to show her creative versatility, starring in and producing critically acclaimed projects like The Comeback and Web Therapy, while also contributing behind the scenes as a writer and producer. Now at 61, Lisa Kudrow remains a respected and dynamic force in the entertainment industry. Her portrayal of Phoebe lives on, not just as a key part of Friends, but as a beloved figure forever woven into the fabric of American pop culture. The heartbreaking stories of Matthew Perry, James Michael Tyler, Robin Williams, and other Friends cast members reveal not just loss, but the hidden struggles behind Hollywood's bright lights. How do these stories make you feel? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more untold truths from behind the scenes.